What's up, family? This is the original Nagamayan. And check it out. I got my tarot cards here, and I am feeling moved to talk a little bit about my personal journey of going through several IVFs. IVFs are, I forget what the letters stand for, but it's a process where doctors take out the woman's embryo, what is it called, follicles, and they join it together with, you know, the guy's stuff, and it forms, hopefully it's supposed to, it's gonna form like an embryo, and the embryo has to go through about 3 stages until it makes it to the next graduation level of blastocyst. And then after it's a blastocyst, usually a lot of people will pay for PGS testing, which is like the full DNA testing. And then they will choose the highest grade, because usually they'll pull out several or even more follicles and mature them into embryos and blastocysts. Then they'll do the testing and they'll figure out which ones have the highest grades, and they will suggest to you which ones to implant back inside the woman, hoping that it develops into full-fledged baby. And then the waiting game is just on after that, where the woman has to come back within, I forget how many months it was, I think 1 month, for a blood test, which, by the way, my blood test was off the meter because I was carrying twins. So I was like super pregnant with it. Like my blood level, pregnancy level, HCG or something, I forget what they call it, was like double. And the nurse was like, But, you know, of course, she didn't want to confirm for me that it was twins. I found out that it was twins about a month after. So maybe like around the 2nd month, through the internal sonogram, where they take a deeper look. Like, ladies, if you want to get a deep imaging on what's going on in your lady stuff, you need to go to, you know, someone who also does IVF procedures, because they have that type of sonogram technology that really tells you about everything going on in there. So anyway, I don't want to make this video too long, so I'm going to go through some of the cards, and maybe what I will do is I will go through just some of the cards now, and then I'm going to put aside these cards because I do have 2 Rider-Waite decks, so I think I can afford to use one for this alone. So I will put aside all the cards that I talk about today so that I know that I talked about them already. And then the next time I do another video, I'm going to choose different cards and focus on that. So here we go. Tarot cards that were related to the IVF journey. From my perspective, I was pulling a lot of tarot cards when I was going through my journey, and I did a lot of IVF procedures. So I'm very familiar with the cards that come up and with what they mean, because I was able to observe the outcomes. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't just me playing a guessing game, like reading for someone and saying, oh, I think this means that. It was me reading for myself, and then I actually saw the shit play out. I actually saw it manifest. Sometimes what I interpreted would be a little bit different from how it turned out, but I made a note in my mind of what the card really meant. That was different from what I thought it meant. You know what I'm saying? All right, so let's get it started. This card in my IVF journey represented going full force ahead, and it also represented fertility for the male fertility. If you look at it visually, it kind of looks like sperms. Like, I have to be graphic in this because we're talking about conception, we're talking about IVF, all right? So you see what I'm talking about? So this usually indicated to me that the male was fertile. It also indicated on the woman's side that I was fertile, that I was actually that my ovaries were working fine, that they were creating follicles. It also at one point, because I went through many IVFs, it also at one point told me what my body was already feeling. It confirmed for me what I was feeling, which was that the first IVF clinic I went to, because I went to different clinics trying to find the perfect fit, they were shooting me up with too much medication. they were rushing a lot of things. After they took out the follicles, they would try to move to the next stage too quickly, and my body needed more time to rest. And I felt it intuitively, but you know, when I started getting the cards and then it started playing out that way, that my ovaries were tired after that, I wasn't creating more follicles the next month because it was so overworked from the medication. This was the card that indicated that. This is the card that told me, so I was like looking everywhere, trying to fit and researching, trying to figure out what was the problem. One of the doctors I went to was a thyroid doctor. I was like, let me check out my thyroid, because I had a friend who was having a hard time conceiving due to her thyroid, but my thyroid was 100% good. In fact, I had a very fast metabolism and it was all good. But anyway, I was meant to go to that thyroid doctor because she actually spoke to me and said some things that changed the course of my journey and actually led me to success. In the beginning, I was with a doctor who, every time I would go, his facility would be not the cleanest, not the best technology. The employees seemed to just be going about their business. And when I went to this thyroid doctor, she made a comment to me. She said, which clinic are you going with? And I said it to her, and she said, oh, I know that clinic. And she said, you know, in this process, you're spending a lot of money and you need to go where the quality is good. She said, go to an area and look up the reputation of the clinic. Make sure, you know, even if it's, you know, especially if it's being covered by insurance, to go for the highest. She was my helper, setting me off on that journey. This is who she was. This is the card that I got that night. I still remember the card that I got. I think my question that evening was like, Tarot, tell me, you know, what was the purpose of me meeting the thyroid doctor? Like, what should I listen to her advice? And this came up, you know, forging a new route, a new path. And she was the person helping me. All right. This card right here told me that there would be a lot of indecision and struggle, and I did go through that in terms of like trying to decide on a clinic, which clinic was right, trying to get my insurance to go through. Ooh, that was just as fatiguing as the actual physical process. Insurance, yikes. I would get this card a lot before my operations, the operations where they extract the follicles from you. I was very scared of that operation. It was a very, though that part is, you know, every woman is different, but a lot of women find that part very painful. It's called the egg retrieval. I would always get this card like the night before. It would, you know, if anything, it was just mirroring my feelings. I was drawing a line in the sand and being nervous and anxious and waiting and expecting pain. You know, I was expecting pain, which I shouldn't have been, but you know, reality is reality. The Fool card was coming up for me whenever it, you know, Spirit was trying to tell me to just fucking relax. Like, relax, lady, we got this, you know. And I had a couple of astrology psychic astrologers that I used to go to, one in particular in Jackson Heights, who was always very on point with me. And he told me that it was going to happen. He was like, you will get pregnant, you're going to have multiple kids. I was like, what? So this is the card that would always come up to reassure me that I needed to just chill out. Okay. This card came up a couple of times when sometimes I would skip months between egg retrievals because I wanted to give my ovaries a rest. But then I would find like a year would pass, 2 years would pass, and I would get a little bit lazy about my mission. I would just end up like getting lost in my work, like my job or like vacations or just other bullshit. And this card would always be telling me like, you're sitting on your eggs, you're sitting on your follicles, you are not taking action, you're kind of like not wanting to try to face what you need to face and to do the damn thing. You know, I was being kind of like You know, because this card has a different meaning depending on the question you're asking, but for IVF, this is what it meant for me. This card represented the stage where, okay, so for the PGS testing, they test it in bundles. At my clinic, you could test 8 embryos for a certain price. So I was trying to make up 8 embryos because I wanted my full money's worth. I wanted to make sure that I got the highest grade out of that bunch of 8 as possible. So this is the card that I got when it was telling me that, like, lady, you are ready. You're ready to get the PGS testing done and to figure out which embryo you want to implant. This is what represented that stage. This card represented 2 things for me. First of all, it was telling me that I was fertile. These circled pentagons, these pentacles, which is what they're called, they immediately, when I looked at the tarot going through the IVF journey, I already knew that it represented the follicles. Like, my brain was already sending out that message intuitively that these were follicles. This was telling me that I was fertile. It was also telling me that I am going to have a storage of eggs. I'm going to have a large storage of eggs. And the situation was that after I implanted the 1 egg, it split into 2, which is why I have twins now. But then guess what happened? All these eggs were left. So I held on to the eggs for a couple of years, but I had to figure out what to do with the eggs at some point. They were frozen, and I was paying every year on maintaining these frozen eggs. This is what represented that. So another meaning is that it was telling me, it was encouraging me that I would have everything I wanted in life, that I would have the children, you know. This old man here shows legacy, passing on of inheritance, or just passing on of legacy, of DNA, you know. This card was telling me that my ovaries were working slow when they were being overworked. That so usually in tarot, this card means a proposal of some sort, especially like a new job. But for me, for the IVF journey, it was telling me that my ovaries were working, but they just needed something extra. They just needed to be awakened. They just needed a little extra push, or maybe they needed rest. That was what it was telling me. Look at how he is at rest in this card. Okay, this card was telling me that my journey would end in a baby shower. I was so happy whenever I got this card. I was like, yes, this is what I wanted to see. And this is how my baby shower looked. I even wore a dress that looked similar to one of the gowns in the picture. And it felt like that, like people clinging their cups together in celebration. Everyone, my whole tribe, my whole family was so happy for me because they knew that this had been a several years journey for me, finally manifested. Okay, this card was telling me, like, so in tarot, this means communication, the commencement of business and things like that. To me, it was telling me that I needed to network more and to find the correct, the best IVF place. It was telling me that I needed to do more research. I needed to connect more. It also told me that it would commence, that whenever I would be starting a new IVF process, or whenever my ovaries were overworked and then I felt like, oh my gosh, I have no more eggs to make, then this card would give me hope that no, you have more eggs to make and business will be commenced. You will continue to produce. This card straight up was telling me, you know, victory, you're going to be triumphant. And I felt pretty badass after I got pregnant and delivered with the twins, because I was like, shit, I've been trying for 1 baby. I came back to my town with 2 babies. Boom. This card was telling me that I needed to reconnect with spirituality. It also told me that I needed to, that there was something with the father, with a paternal, religious or spiritual figure, and So this card is kind of personal, but just want to say that if it comes up for you, it probably means that you need to reconnect with something ancient, some sort of ancient way of praying, or with your peoples, you know what I'm saying? Or just listen to your spirituality. In that case, I started chanting more. I had been praying in the Roman Catholic way, but during the IVF, I went back to like my Hindu and my Buddhist roots, and that's what this represented to me as well. Okay, I don't want to make the video too long, but I just want to end this video with this card. The Empress was telling me, whenever she came up, I got so excited because look at how she looks like a woman at her baby shower. This is exactly how women look at their baby showers, don't they? The long flowing dress, sitting in that special wicker chair. This was me. I even dressed like that at my baby shower. I had a wreath of flowers, I had a long gown, and I was sitting on a chair like that. So it was telling me that it's going to end fruitful. Okay, so I'm going to put these cards aside and I'm going to do another one for you guys, talking about some other cards and giving you my perspective on what they meant in my IVF journey. Peace.